Hello, everyone. Hi. I know I don't normally do streams and stuff on Sunday, but we're going to try something new. This is probably the start, I guess the more official start of our little podcast adventure thing. We decided, at least for now, to call it Vods. I think that's the best name that Todd and I have ever done. Yeah, you guys already know me, but in case you don't, hi, I'm Val. I play games, I do stuff, do security stuff, and this is one of my longest friends I think I've had that I still have contact with, named Todd. He, Todd, how about you introduce yourself to them and let people know who you are, what you do, what you're about.
So I'm Todd. I also play games and stuff. In my day job, I build rockets. So I'm a quality engineer. I do some contract work for NASA.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What is it like being a badass working for NASA? I'm genuinely curious.
So the optimism of working for an agency like NASA is intoxicating, because the whole mission statement is advance humanity through scientific endeavor.
Yeah.
And, it's not, I've worked at so many places where it's about profit and deadlines and money, and all that stuff kind of factors in at NASA too, but it's never the forefront. It's always the science.
There's the inevitability of the money has to come from somewhere, right? And
yeah, absolutely.
And
we have to be good stewards of the taxpayer dollars.
Exactly.
That's how we say it in civil servant lingo. But,
I mean, that makes sense. Nothing is free. Like I think that's one of the things that you learn, even working for I don't work for a nonprofit place, but I know people that do. And even nonprofit places, they notoriously pay kind of low and stuff because they don't get a lot of income, and that money has to come from somewhere, right?
Yeah. And interesting fact about NASA, people always say, hey, the space industry is like $1 trillion business. And they're right. But NASA is still less than 1% of the total U.S. government's budget. So
that's crazy to me.
So to put that in perspective, that's how little money we actually spend on space exploration.
Jesus. I mean, on one hand, I kind of get it, because I'm in the camp where it's like, how about we, and I think this is like a George Carlin thing too. I'm in the camp of how about we fix our problems before we go somewhere else and cause problems there? But at the same time, it's something we need to do, because this is very obviously not going to last forever, right? As a species, we need to go out and explore. And it's also it's our nature as humans, right? That's what we do. We explore things. We want to see what's out there. And I think that's the next frontier that we really have.
Yeah. I mean, since the dawn of humanity, the question of, hey, what's over there has been at the forefront of every human's brain.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of the essential mission of NASA is, you look up in the night sky and it's like, hey, what's over there?
Absolutely.
And,
hey, Marilyn, welcome in. Go ahead, Todd.
So it's just a day-to-day grind that's not really a grind, It's fun.
Yeah.
It's the coolest job I ever had. Now, for me, I do a lot of paperwork. So, I do the very rudimentary, boring stuff behind the scenes. It's been a long time since I've actually put my hands on physical hardware.
Yeah.
But, just because
it's still super interesting. So my great grandpa, both of my grandpas, actually, they knew each other because one of them worked for NASA and the other was an Air Force pilot. And I may have told you this, I don't know if I did or not, but they were on the project, the first project that the Air Force had to deliver a rocket or rocket parts using one of their giant cargo planes. And my grandpa was one of the guys that piloted it. And
that is so cool.
I thought that was cool as shit. When I visit, they were in Delaware. So whenever I visited, I got to see all their jackets and all their stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so the general idea of this is we're going to go through, well, I say we. Todd is going to talk or walk us through various talking points that have happened during the week, the month. The general idea is we do this like on a monthly cadence. We haven't decided a specific time. We're probably going to do it either probably the back end of the month and just kind of keep up a monthly cadence. That way we give time for things to kind of like happen, you know, and just I think, Todd, the idea is we take notes from now to like whatever happens, right? And then we just go over like the key points and to differentiate between like what we did last time, or to differentiate between like other people, we will play a game in the background so you guys have something to watch and listen to while we talk you through you know, all the general happenings in gaming and eventually probably pop culture and stuff. And I think that'll be nice. We'll see how it goes.
I'm very excited.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, so let's first try to get in the game, and I'm gonna put you down here, and then I'm gonna hop down here with you, and we will. So today we're going to be playing and that's another thing. Like the general idea is we're going to be playing like pretty much like cozy games, almost nonstop. If something comes out that I think, you know, we're interested in and we want to play together, we might do that. But just for the nature of it being like podcasty, it'll just be slow, chill, cozy vibes. And that way, you know, we have all that. Okay, I've got the game started. And I will get you in a second. Once I go in and inevitably have to turn this stuff down because it's almost always way too fucking loud.
Never fails.
I was just heading off to bed when I saw you were on, so I'm gonna go to sleep, have you on as a lullaby, enjoy your stream. Absolutely, Marilyn. Thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate you for stopping by. Get you some good sleep. We're happy to have you here, man.
Yeah, let the deep, sultry tones of Val and Todd whisk you away to sleep.
Absolutely.
That's right.
All right, let me do. So this is good. We can create a character. Have you created a character yet?
I have.
Oh shit! I didn't even know this was a thing.
I'm so far ahead of you,
bro. So
I'm not even gonna spoil that this game has pickaxes.
Oh, wild.
Never been done before.
Do we want to? You want to go ahead and take us through the first talking point while I make a character?
Absolutely. So what I did was I picked the 5 biggest stories from the last really month of gaming and kind of laid it all out. And I think the best place to start is the place to start that terrifies people the most, and that's within how much things cost. Rockstar has a quaint little game coming out this year called GTA 6. Yep. Maybe the biggest entertainment property of all time.
Yep.
And there have been various news stories floated around the industry that most other developers are waiting with bated breath for Rockstar and Take-Two to charge between $80 and $100 for this game. What do you think about that?
So here's the thing. Gaming is not a cheap hobby. It never has been. I think I remember Chrono Trigger, for example, when it dropped, it was like what, 80, 100 bucks?
Yeah, I think I paid 125 for it.
For a Super Nintendo game back in like the 90s, which let me calculate that real fast. 1 second. Let me see. Roughly $200, give or take, 170 to 200 bucks if it came out today. That I think is wild. I don't think that is anything remotely new. However, so like, here's my thing. Gaming is not cheap, never has been. It probably never will be. It's always been like a fairly expensive hobby, right?
Right.
If they were increasing the cost because it genuinely was a game that is so full of stuff that like they honestly think it cost that price, like Chrono Trigger did, right? Then cool, that's fine. However, the skeptic in me feels like they're only going to charge that price. So we don't know if they will, but it feels like they're only going to charge that price simply because bad management practices have essentially bloated game dev costs to an astronomical amount. I think like Black Ops reportedly costs like what, 700 million.
Yeah, that's the number I saw.
Yeah.
700. Yeah.
And some of that sure is dev. It's hiring celebrities to do stuff, whatever. I get that. But like some of it, a good bit of it also from like industry insiders that I've seen talk about it, be like, yeah, it's just mismanagement because there's so many things that we start up and get canceled and then they swap and do something else, right?
Yeah, and I mean, you want to talk about like just how much this game cost. The ballpark figure right now that's being like ballied around online is $1.5 billion.
Jesus Christ, really? For GTA?
That's what they're estimating, that by the time it ships, that's what they'll have in total development and marketing.
That is wild, man. I don't know.
Now, they're also projecting that the game's going to make $3 billion this year if it actually releases this year, which I think it will. But
yeah.
Because if you look at the numbers from GTA 5, it's the second or third highest selling game of all time, depending on how you shake out the metrics. It's sold over 200 million copies. Just in 1 year alone, GTA Online made over $1 billion.
Yep.
So I think the total for GTA 5 is 8.6 billion over its lifetime, which, for context, Star Wars, the entirety of the whole Star Wars universe, video games, books, movies, has only made $10 billion. So, GTA is gonna make money. Mm-hmm. It's gonna make the budget back. But I think the problem is, this is a unicorn. Like, is GTA worth $100? Yeah, probably. But is every run-of-the-mill other game worth $100? No. Absolutely not. Most of them aren't worth $70.
No, I agree.
Just to be frank.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. Is it will. I would be worried that it would set a unnecessary precedent of, let's, if this game is going to be $100, just entry level, then other games are going to be like, well, if they can do it, so can we. And that's not like this game. Do I think it would be worth $100? Sure. The better, like, the tier that they have been doing where, like, the game is like $60-$70. If you want the extra stuff, you pay $80. If you want more stuff, you pay $90. If you want early access, you pay $100. I don't care about the early access thing. I think that's really bad. I think that's a bad practice, even though I do it because I'm that guy and I want to hurry up and just get into a thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I hate it, but I absolutely do it for my favorite games.
And I think that is still more acceptable. I know a lot of people complain about it. I don't necessarily think it's a bad call, though, because then at least people get to choose their price. And, if Ubisoft, for example, pulls out like a really shitty game, as they often do these days, everybody knows, if they pull out a bad game that, you're not sure if you want to play, and you're like, I don't really think this game is going to be worth $100, you can drop $60-$70 on it and maybe potentially feel like you have your money's worth. Or even better, you can just pay $10 for Ubisoft Plus, like I did for Star Wars Outlaws, and play it for like 10 hours and be like, nah, this ain't me for me. And then you leave and you feel like you're not out of a lot of money, right?
I think the psychological impact of the $100 price point is way worse.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I think it's just immediate sticker shock that's going to drive a lot of people away. And I also think it increases exponentially the disappointment factor if the game sucks or if it doesn't run well on day one, which is basically industry standard now. You know, I mean, are people going to tolerate spending $100 on a game and then the servers being down for 2 days?
Yeah, that's the other thing. I don't think technologically we are at a place where we are able to do that. Like MMOs still launch today and like just don't work, you know?
Yeah, don't run for a week, you know? Like, I mean, it takes time for the servers to iron out.
Yeah.
I think this is just an incredible amount of hubris on the part of, you know, the bad game devs.
Yep.
You know, you talk about like Ubisoft, you know, there's some like, you know, real heavy hitters in the industry that consistently put out disappointing games, you know, EA. I mean, like, how much worse would the Veilguard controversy have been if the game cost $100?
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and I mean, like I said, I think, you know, this game, I would pay $100 for it because I know I'm going to play it for probably the next 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, you're going to have to. It's going to be on like the next 4 consoles that come out,
Well,
you know?
yeah, I mean, it'll be on your next toaster that you get,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, by the way, for the game, I finally figured out how to get it. I had to make an actual world. I just put the room code in to our chat, so you should be able to host a game, or not host, but go to like multiplayer and join and see if you can put that code in to join. And we can finally get this going. Sorry, it took me a second to figure that shit out.
I think it's working.
Yep, I see you in there.
Okay, cool.
All right, so yeah, we will start this in theory. See if it works, and we'll get back to the discussion real quick. It said for a second player left. I don't know if it kicked you out. Are you loading?
It kicked me out.
Son of a bitch.
Speaking of games that don't work, how fortuitous is that?
No shit, right? And I can't invite you.
Yeah. I'll try again.
Yeah, see if you can join. Yeah, it says player joining. So
Okay, there we go. Now we got it.
hell yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what I had to do for future reference is actually like go in and make the game. And yeah, and I see you in there. All right, cool. All right. So where were we at?
So GTA 6, do you have any other thoughts or?
I mean, I'm excited for it. I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I did not play a lot of GTA 5 online. Like, I beat the game once. I played it online to like mess around with like friends and stuff, you know? I did not spend a ton of time in it. And I know there's like a lot of people that do like GTA 5 roleplay and stuff. I think it's a great game. Absolutely. Rockstar games, though, for me, tend to have like a certain way that they play that like everything is kind of slow and deliberate. Like I hated, absolutely loathe Red Dead Redemption 2 because it was so slow.
Oh God, I do not like playing Red Dead Redemption 2. It's my favorite game ever to sit and watch a Let's Play of.
Yeah.
The story's so good.
Yeah.
But the gameplay is methodical.
Yeah.
And that's the nicest way you can say it.
Yeah. It got to the point where I was like, you know what? I am,
it's agonizing.
I'm good. Yeah. I was like, it's so, and I don't for 1 second think this game is going to be anything like that because these games have always tended to be a little faster. So is it going to be game of the year? I mean, unless they do something absolutely horrible. Yes. I mean, without a doubt, right? Like it's just gonna be. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Like overall, I'm definitely curious and scared to see where like their $100 thing comes in and like what they like what other people do with it, you know? Like I want to know I want to see what the rest of the industry decides to do and take with that and see where they take everything and like, are they gonna use it as an excuse? I feel like, yeah,
they definitely will.
I don't want them to because that's just gonna sour people even further. But I mean, I don't know. I'm worried about where the industry is going if that ends up being the norm, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a significant chance it could crash the whole industry, especially
I think so too.
The AAA part.
Yeah, so that's the thing, like where I was talking about how like games don't have, gaming is an expensive hobby, blah, blah, blah. It is propped up by the people that don't pay $100 a game. Like, because there are far more of them than there are of us where we're like, you know what, you're right. Let's just drop $100 on a game. I honestly believe like the vast majority of people, and I don't have any stats to say otherwise. I'm in various Discord channels like talking and stuff and see people be like, nah, I'm going to wait till it goes on sale or I'm not going to play this, kind of thing. Right. I strongly, go ahead.
I was going to say, most of my friends buy their games on sale.
Yeah. And so there are far more of them.
Yeah.
And it goes back to like the free to play thing, right? A lot of games go free to play and drop like skins that are $20, And I am perfectly okay with that model if that means that people can play it and like a couple of whales just prop up the entire game. I think that's fine. I have no problem with that. Yeah, some people may see it to be a little controversial, but I don't think it's necessarily bad, Yeah, so I mean, I would be curious to see where it goes and what happens and what they do with it. I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I'm worried that it's going to just mess everything up.
I think it may really lead towards the continued decline of AAA and just the rise of AA. Like this year we saw from Saber Interactive the 40K Warhammer game.
Yep.
Which I think is firmly AA.
Yep.
It's amazing. It's a great game. I loved it. But, I think that's what you're going to see because I think teams are just going to have to lower their scope.
That is part of it. Yeah. Like and I think Ubisoft is starting to realize that. I hope they are because they are seeing this thing where it's like people have been building games in bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think the number one complaint about like Valhalla, for example, was that it's too fucking big. Like I remember hitting like the 40-hour mark and being like, this game is fun, but it should be ending right now. And then I hit and I was like, I don't want to play it anymore, but I'm gonna keep going because I got to be close to the end, right? And then I hit the 60-hour mark, and I was like,
and it just never ends.
Yeah, I hit the 60-hour mark, and I was like, I am ready for this to be over. I want it to be done. When I'm at 60 hours, it can't be much further. And then I hit the 80-hour mark. And after the 60-hour mark, I stopped doing side quests. I started just beelining all the main content.
Yeah, you're like, Jesus Christ, how much more of England is there?
And by the time I hit 80 hours, I fucking hated that game. And I wanted to just be done entirely. Oh my God, I was so mad. Here, I'll build us a workbench real quick. Did you get this far, by the way?
Yes.
Okay, all right. You just let me do all this.
Yeah, and ironically, it let me keep all the tools I made in my first little playthrough. So,
hell yeah, that's cool.
Yes, so I don't need any of this stuff that you're picking up. Okay, so I think we can kind of let that go. We're going to come back to the industry-wide stuff at the end of the podcast because, we got a lot to talk about there. Yep. But I think we'll switch gears, pun completely intended, into the Nintendo Switch 2. So there was a promotional video, not really, kind of a reveal, nothing big, no release date, no firm price. All it showed was the next Mario Kart, which consequently looked like every other Mario Kart, except this time with maybe 32 players in a race.
Yep.
So what I read online was the industry insiders are expecting a June-July release for Switch 2 with an estimated $400 to $500 price point. I walked away from this thinking this looks really safe, really boring, really underpowered, but none of that matters, and I'm still going to buy it because I'm a Nintendo homer.
That's fair. That's very fair.
What were your thoughts?
I watched it. I kind of walked away from it feeling the same thing, being like, it's very safe. I think specifically Nintendo doesn't want to repeat the same mistakes it did with like the Wii U and go too far out there and just alienate themselves too much.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine. I also think if you look back at technology as a whole, like Nintendo is known for innovations, right? Nintendo is known for always pushing the envelope and just trying weird, wacky, crazy stuff. Look at gaming controllers. Everyone tried weird, wacky, crazy stuff. There were certain controllers that people hated, like the N64 controller, where it like just didn't work. And then eventually we hit this technological sinking point with Microsoft adding the second joystick and being like, this is it. This is how you do it. Because remember, the original PlayStation didn't have two joysticks. And everyone was like, holy shit, I can move my camera. This is fantastic. This is wild. Why didn't we ever think of this before, right? And if I'm not mistaken, it was
the biggest innovation in controls.
Yes, and if I'm not mistaken, it was specifically Halo that caused it to happen, because Halo was like, it was designed by people that played on PC, and they were like, not being able to move your camera in a first-person game is awful.
Yeah, how are we going to make this work on console?
Yes, and that was it, and it hit, and it worked well. And so I think what we are seeing with Nintendo, as boring as it may be, is the same kind of technological sink point where they've tried a lot of things. They kind of know what works. They kind of know what doesn't. Do they have room to just throw something out there and it fail and still be profitable? Absolutely they do. But what, from a corporate standpoint, is the point in doing that if you know what you have works and you can't think of a way right now technologically to push it? And keep in mind, we still don't really know what all this thing can do, right? Like, I don't think...
Yeah, we don't know what the specs are.
Yeah, we don't know the specs. We don't know the power. If history is to... If they follow history, it will essentially be... You know, it's what the last generation consoles were, because they're always a generation behind, like, technologically. Yeah. And I think that's fine, because their games aren't aimed to like push anything. The downside is the games they are making now, at least in the Switch lifetime, are trying to keep up with like where everyone else is, like Zelda, for example, and they just can't.
Yeah, I am really excited to play Breath of the Wild on a modern console.
What excited me more than anything else that they showed, even more than like the Mario Kart, which I genuinely thought was just them showing the old Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Was the ability to play my old Switch games on hardware that could actually run them.
Yeah, that was my first thought too. I was like, oh, good, maybe I can play, Tears of the Kingdom without horrible popping.
Yeah.
Speaking of Breath of the Wild, you just did this game's Breath of the Wild when you walked out.
Holy shit, this is crazy.
Does this not remind you of the Great Plateau?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. This is wild.
Check out the wind physics in this game. It looks really pretty.
I'm genuinely impressed with this so far. Like, I know we've only played it for like actually played it for like 5 or 10 minutes, but this is...
Yeah, very pretty though.
Looks good. This is great.
So as for the Switch 2, I kind of look at it more like the OG DS to the DS Lite.
Yep.
This is an iteration,
yep.
I think, and that's fine. Honestly, the main thing I'm angry about is that they did not call it the Super Switch. Like, what the hell?
Yeah,
it's sitting right there for them. It's on the tee. Just hit the home run.
Yeah, I absolutely see that 100%.
Then they could have released Super Mario again.
Yep.
And it just, I don't know, the naming convention was right there. So are you excited, or do you think this is really just a mid-gen refresh, really?
So here's the thing. I play Nintendo games for like 2 things. Zelda and the occasional Mario game that catches my eye. Like, I haven't picked up anything on the Switch that really like hit it for me, you know?
That's fair. Yeah.
And Zelda, controversially, I feel has just been awful. Not awful. Maybe awful is the wrong word. It's going in a direction that I don't particularly like. Do I think they're bad games? No. I don't think they are games for...
You don't like the Ubisoft version of Zelda?
No.
You don't like the open worldification?
The open worldification is fine. I don't like not having dungeons. And the last one did it better, but you still didn't really have dungeons in that game. And
that's fair. I mean, that's a very fair criticism.
I don't like not having dungeons, and I hate my weapon breaking without having a way to repair it, because what ends up happening, and this was an issue with the last game, you end up hoarding weapons you think you will need, and then you never use them. It's the equivalent of playing like
Skyrim with 1,000 potions.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's like Skyrim with 1,000 potions. It's Final Fantasy with 1,000,000 elixirs. It's Resident Evil with like that one with a blue serum or whatever when you mix the red and the green. You know, it's like I can't use. Yeah, that's what it is, and like I just don't think it does it justice really, because I'm afraid to use my stuff, and even. Like, I get why they made the Master Sword break, but as a gamer that has played in the Master Sword be like one of the all-time great ultimate weapons, like it's up there with like the BFG, it's up there with like the energy sword from Halo, like it is the weapon. Having it break and lose its power just felt kind of crappy to me. So
yeah, I mean, I think ultimately the mechanic's just not fun.
Yeah, it's not great.
You know, and that's
one of the reasons, like, you know, we're playing a survival game now, right? It's one of the reasons I don't play Ark. If my stuff can break, I don't care. I don't want to play it, man. Like, let me repair it and let the repair process be like fun and good.
Let it be simple. Yeah. Part of the loop.
Yeah, like I don't know if you've ever played Valheim. I think Valheim did it best, where like you don't have to have materials to repair your stuff. It just acts as an anchor to your base. So you walk up to a crafting bench, hit repair, it repairs all your stuff for you. It can break while you're out in the world, but as long as you just return home and hit repair,
you can still fix it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was great. I thought that was the perfect way to do it. Like, there was a reason for you to constantly return home to your stuff, and I think it worked really well. You know,
and that's kind of what I was getting at. It's a part of the loop.
Yes,
Valheim, you know,
yes.
And it's part of the gaming experience, not detracting from.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
Wild, you know.
So that's what I enjoyed the most about it. If they bring Zelda back to its roots, sure, I think that would be pretty cool. You know. If they don't, I don't know if I want to pay $500 for that console.
I totally understand that, because I mean, I don't take it on the go. You know, I'm not one of those people. So that functionality really means nothing.
Nothing,
to me.
Yeah.
You know, I know it's great for kids, and I kind of feel like that's really what the Switch is for at this point. You know, I think Nintendo's just owned it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that's their thing. So.
Yeah, that's what it is for me too. If it were $300, it would be a buy, I think. At $400 to $500, that feels like I could put that money towards something else that, like, I'm not going to be waiting a year or two for a game to come out on that I want to play. And I don't have any problems with people that are like, this is fantastic, I'm going to play everything that comes out. Like, if they put out a Pokemon that actually fucking runs well, that would be great. But, like, will they? I don't know.
How they keep screwing that up. To me, that's the single biggest travesty in games.
Yeah.
That they can't figure out a big open world Pokemon that you can play multiplayer with your friends. And, you know, they could sell you skins. There's so much stuff they could do to make even more billions of dollars.
Yep.
And they're just leaving it on the table.
Yeah, I don't like Arceus. God,
Yeah.
I love that game. I thought that was the first Pokemon game I had played in a long time, and I was in love with it. Even with it running as bad as it did, I can't tell you how excited I was for that game, to be quite honest.
I just couldn't do it. It ran like shit.
It did. It sucked.
I just can't tolerate that anymore.
Now imagine playing it on the Switch too, though. Like how great it's probably going to run and how good it's going to be.
I'm excited about that. That's what's crazy is I'm excited about playing Switch games on the Switch 2 more than I'm excited about playing Switch 2 games on the Switch 2. And I think that's the biggest indictment of the console. You still there?
Oh yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry. My bad.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
No,
I dropped.
No, I definitely see that. I just don't know if it's going to be worth me purchasing it, quite honestly. Like I said, I will probably hold off buying it immediately. Will I buy it eventually? Probably, because I end up owning all consoles anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a prime target for when the price drops.
Yeah.
You know, when they go to $299 or $350 or whatever they eventually settle on. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, so from one new console, maybe we can talk about not a new console, but maybe the next dead one in what Xbox is trying to do.
Oh.
I don't know if you, I don't know if you saw the developer direct.
Yeah.
They announced 4 games, Ninja Gaiden 4, which I know you're pretty stoked about.
Oh yeah.
You know, a very interesting collaboration, I think, between Platinum and Team Ninja. You know, I think this has real potential to be a big deal.
Yep.
And then Doom: The Dark Ages, which in our little show notes document, I said, hey, it's Doom with a chainsaw shield. What more do you really need to say?
That's true. Yeah.
You know, and it looks that way. It looks exactly how those words sound.
I very specifically remember seeing Cliffy B, the creator of Gears of War, going fucking crazy over the shield chainsword because he thought it was fantastic. He was like, "That's just beautiful," and he
looked fun as hell.
Yeah, and he's the one that made the chainsaw gun or whatever, and he just thought it was great. And I love seeing creators like support other creators like that. You know, I thought that was cool.
So the other 2 games they announced were South of Midnight and Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
Yep.
So let's just kind of start at the top.
Yep.
What Ninja Gaiden 4? What'd you think?
I am cautiously optimistic. Ninja Gaiden 2 or Ninja Gaiden 3 was not good. It was absolutely
terrible.
Horrendous.
Yeah, it's terrible. You can say it.
Yeah. Here, let me put a workbench down somewhere real quick. Yeah, no, it was not good. It sucked. Horrible, awful to play. Just miserable in every single
completely
fashion.
Nonsensical story. You know, just.
I know Platinum Games has a lot of followers, but I think more lately they've been very hit or miss with what they come out with.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last good game they made was Bayonetta.
Oh, absolutely. And so
that was
like
a long time ago.
And a lot of I could be wrong about this. I think a lot of their staff has left and gone to do other things too. Yeah. So like, and I've always cautioned people, follow developers, don't follow studios, because it's the developers that make the stuff. Like, you will eventually get leaders that like can create like, you know, fantastic stuff and lead teams to victory and all that great, fun, wonderful stuff, right? But like creators or devs are the ones that are actually making everything.
Yeah, if you follow studios, you end up with like Dragon Age the Veilguard, where you get a cosplay version of the thing that you love.
Yes, exactly.
You know, it's not made by anyone who still understands what made it great.
Yep.
You know, so you're totally right about that.
And so with that in mind, I want want to play it. I want it to be good. I'm probably going to play it unless the reviews come out and just straight up say, nah, this ain't it, you know?
It reminded me a lot of Neo.
Yeah.
Kinda,
that's another thing too. Yeah, like Ninja Gaiden was always about Ryu and the Hayabusa clan and like his journey, and this is a different protagonist. And I know it's like, I think that's another thing. We're getting to that point where games that you and I grew up with are starting to hand off the mantle to someone else, because I've thought about that. Like, can Mario really stay there for 80 plus years without introducing another main protagonist kind of thing? I think Mario is the Mickey Mouse of video games. Yeah, no, for sure. But like, there's these other like people, there's these other franchises that have these main protagonists that like eventually it's like, you know, we're going to be 60, 70, 80 years old if we're lucky, and we're still going to be playing as John Halo, you know, like it just, you know, me and a good friend of mine, we read this book series called The Dresden Files. And, you know, it's like almost 20 books deep. And one thing we keep joking about is like, how many bad days can this guy have? Yeah, I'm a massive Dresden fan as well. Yeah. So, I mean, and the stakes have to get higher, and it gets more and more ridiculous. You know, like, you get so far away from what the story was at the beginning. Yep. And sometimes it's worth handing off the mantle to. And that's something 100%. I think we need to, as fans, kind of struggle with. I hope this game ends up being good, because I love Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden was the Dark Souls before Dark Souls became a thing. Like, it controls a very specific way. It is the game that taught me how to deal with difficulty as a young child. It is a game that like taught me that if you don't fight the game's controls, you embrace it and you learn how to play the game despite the controls. And that's very much what like early Demon Souls and Dark Souls was, right? Yeah. Absolutely. And a lot of that. And I want it to succeed because I want to see more of that stuff. I absolutely do. 100%. Will it? I don't know. The new protagonist has me a little worried. Supposedly Ryu's still going to be in there from like a story perspective, and will probably like be your teacher or you're a student, or I don't really know, but that's my assumption is, or maybe Ryu's off doing a thing and you have to find him, that kind of stuff, right? Yeah, I was going to say, do you think maybe this is like a Metal Gear Solid 2 situation where they kind of bait and switch you and you get to play as Ryo, maybe for a level? If they did that, the old guys still got it, one of those kind of things. If they did that, I wouldn't be mad about it. But that's the thing, Ryu is a human, so like if they're doing like any timeline stuff like that motherfucker's old now, like he's not. And I mean, maybe they just do one level where you play as him and maybe he dies, it's heroic, whatever. I mean, oh, okay, cool. We flying. How did you fly? Did you make a glider? No. So I set that up right there. Yeah, go make your glider. Okay. But yeah, so like over here on the left is a little stand I made. So yeah, I'm interested. I'm very cautiously optimistic with like what they have on offer, because I don't know if it's going to be good, and I want it to be, is basically where I land with that. Did you think graphically it looked good? Because I didn't find it particularly impressive. No, but I mean, point to one Platinum Games game that has been, quite honestly. I mean, that's fair. But does that move the needle in 2025 though? I don't. Are people gonna care? I don't think it really matters. In the grand scheme of things, what people want out of a fast-paced action game like Ninja Gaiden is for the fucking thing to run at least 60 frames per second. Like, oh my god, can you just? God, they can do that. Can you just please make it run 60 FPS? Well, I don't know if they're using Unreal Engine 5. Who knows? But please make that thing run at 60 FPS. It's inexcusable for a game that releases in the year of our Lord 2025 to not run at 60 frames per second. Yeah,
I'm so tired of this. Like if they have the gall to release $100 games and they don't go to an industry standard of 60 frames,
That's awful.
I'm gonna lose my shit.
Yeah, me too. That's terrible.
Yeah.
I hate that shit. That's the thing though. Like if like Team Ninja games have never looked particularly beautiful. I mean, that's just the way that studio does. And then with Platinum Games, like they've also never looked particularly great, but they sell gangbusters because people love them as a studio. Ninja
it's the gameplay, right?
Yeah, Team Ninja used to do the same, but like they kind of fell off a little bit. I think it'll be fine, provided what they release is just fun, man. Like I think that's all people really want. Do they want a game to look pretty? Yeah, sure, absolutely. But I think a lot of studios are falling in this like this weird place of let's make it as pretty as possible and forget about like the game fucking running well.
Give it no soul. You know,
it's like
no soul. Yeah.
It's like they're all tech demos. Every single one of them at this point are basically tech demos, where it's like let's push this, let's have this thing push the limit and whatever. And you see what happens when a game tries to do both. You get GTA 6 that costs $1.5 billion or whatever it was you said.
Yeah, and takes 10 years.
And takes 10 years. And I don't know if I want to play one good fucking game every decade of my life. Like, I'm not going to be around that long, you know? Like, I
feel you.
I don't want to deal with that. I would rather you give me games that look good on a cycle every year or two, and we'll have a great time.
Yeah, I mean, I want nothing more than for Ninja Gaiden 4 to be like 12 hours long and just fun as hell.
Yeah, that's all it needs to be. That's all anyone wants. Like, I don't...
I don't need a 50-hour Ninja Gaiden, experience.
Absolutely. 100%. Did you craft your glider?
I was going to ask you, how do you? Like,
top
I don't
left,
see the option. What do you have to do?
Do you have a thing telling you what to do in the top left?
Let's see. No.
No. Okay.
Well, yeah, it just says interact with the fresco. What's that? This thing?
Oh, up here. It's that. I think that's at the very top up here. I don't know if you went up here and did this thing.
No.
Let me double check real quick. Sorry, while we've been talking, I've just been kind of auto piloting all this shit.
Yeah. I've just been goofing around. I hadn't really been doing anything.
Yeah, no, it's fine. That's why we decided to do this. To just have something going on in the background and people to watch and actually see like a little bit of gameplay while we're doing some stuff. Is this it?
I think so. Let's try. Yeah, it's doing like a little cutscene now.
Yep. Okay, cool.
So what did you think about Doom? Did you have any other thoughts about that, or do you want to just kind of glaze over that?
I mean,
I really don't know what else to say.
I mean, Doom is Doom. It's always going to be Doom. The only thing I will say about it is I hate what they did to the original composer. They really fucked him over, and I think Bethesda in general is just very poorly managed, quite honestly. And I think we saw that with God, in any other world I would have remembered the name. The space game they came out with. Starfield, yeah. I think we saw that with Starfield in that, like, I think that's the first DLC I've played from Bethesda Studios that I just thought was absolutely atrocious and I didn't even finish.
We're gonna get to Bethesda at the end of this Xbox Direct.
Yeah, so
conversation, because I have some serious thoughts.
Yeah, so while I do this, you can just it should tell you to do the stuff now. Yeah. So it's Doom. I mean, it's more Doom, and that's not necessarily a bad thing if you're into that, right? Like I've played both of the other Doom games, and I thought they were fantastic. I'm looking forward to this one. It's one of those games that I will probably play once and have a great time with, and that's about where I land with those,
That's exactly what I want out of Doom,
Not everything needs to be... The problem with gaming today, I think, is that every game, and I know we're going to get to this segment later, was trying to be a live service game, and every game wanted to be your forever game, but like most people already have their forever game that they want to play or their go-to thing. And if you want to try to fit in that gap, we just don't have the time of day to do it, man. Like, it's just not happening. And if I see a game doing that, I may try it for a little bit, but I'm checking out like very quickly after. So I want things that I can play for 10 to 20 hours is my max. Like, if it's like a really fantastic story, I mean, like old school BioWare fucking Skyrim, like Bethesda level stuff where it's like a 40 to 50 hour game, is probably my limit. And that story better be great. Like, it better be so good. I don't want to skip a single fucking cutscene, because let me tell you, there are so many cutscenes I wanted to skip in Dragon Age, like Inquisition or whatever the latest one was, Veilguard. There were so many cutscenes I wanted to skip, but I was like, they might say something important, and they never fucking did.
Yeah,
so
well, I mean, that's the easiest way to distill that whole game, is you're waiting on something important to happen and it never does.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that later too, though. But yeah, that's where I sit with it.
All right, so South of Midnight, another game they really showed off this time. You know, this was the first time we'd really got a detailed like gameplay demo.
Yep.
You know, it's this gothic deep south folklore game that, and don't judge me for saying this, I think this game is going to be a real target for incel DEI hate.
Already is, yeah.
And I think it's going to fail because of that. I don't think people are going to give it a chance. And I think it's a real shame, because I think it looks cool. I think it has an interesting art style, but I just don't think people are going to play it.
I think it is very stylized, and for that reason, it's going to both have people interested in it, and it's going to have people, like you said, that are going to target it for those reasons. I don't think in the online world, if you stick to online spaces and you read online chatter, you will see people talk about that kind of stuff. Outside of that, I don't think it's as deep as people think. I know it's absolutely out there, because I do have the occasional person like mention. Oh, did you just die?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
go ahead.
No, I don't know. I'm super excited about it. Like, I absolutely want to play it. I am so fucking ready for that game, because like you, think it looks great. If I'm being honest, like it's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it looks cool, and the gameplay loop looks fun. And you know, I'm from the Deep South, obviously, so yeah, I think I'm naturally inclined to be interested.
Yeah, and I love gothic shit, and I just think, oh my god, it hits everything that I'm interested in, and I am 100% gonna play it without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be on Game Pass day one, as all these games are that we're talking about. But I think the incessant chatter from online chuds is just going to tank this game. I really do.
It might. A lot of these small games, like there was another one that came out fairly recently that I thought was good that didn't do well, and I admittedly don't remember the name of it. But it happens, unfortunately. I think there are games that definitely deserve more attention than they get, and they just don't, for one reason or another. Like the Guardians of the Galaxy game. It was so fantastic.
It's really fun.
And it's really fun. Yeah, and it's only sin as it came out after the Avengers game that
that just everybody was sour.
That everybody hated, and no one wanted to play a Marvel game, because they were like, oh, well, it's going to be bad. If Guardians of the Galaxy came out after Rivals,
I think it would be a totally different story.
Absolutely, yeah. And so, kind of in the vein of this, like, Microsoft isn't really putting out a lot of bangers lately, and it's unfortunate. But like, most
people have no confidence.
No.
Right now.
Yeah, and so I think that's going to cause problems, and I want to see these games succeed, especially the next one that you're going to talk about, because I am super interested in that.
Oh, yes. Okay, so Claire Obscure Expedition 33. I am over the moon excited. I think this game is a real wild card. And in our little document I wrote, this game's got cult classic written all over it.
Yep.
You know, it's made by a small French studio. The concept is really kind of out there and cool. It's turn-based, which we don't see a lot of, you know, these days. So I think it's really going to stand out. The combat really reminded me of Persona 5.
It looks like a
It looks like
team.
it looks like they copy and pasted the graphic, you know, the UI from Persona 5's.
I mean, that's what drew me to Atlas games in general, is how stylized it is and how wonderful it looks, and thinking it's like it just looks great. And I quite controversially did not like Metaphor Refantatio. I just didn't care for it. It didn't hit me. I feel like it didn't seem as stylized to me as like a lot of the other Persona games, you know. It definitely had it. I just didn't like the style they went with. And we can get into like talks about that game later, but like it was not my thing. I love Persona 4 and 5. I thought they were fantastic, and those were the only ones I played. So I am looking forward to whatever they do with Clair Obscur, because it looks interesting. It looks beautiful, stylized. The story
is super interesting.
Yeah, I want to. There's another game that came out like forever ago. It was Xbox 360 era, called Lost Odyssey. And I don't know if you ever played it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it had that
this has serious Lost Odyssey.
That's the first thing I thought of when I saw it, except more stylized. And I remember a main mechanic in Lost Odyssey, and the story was that there are people in that game that are immortal and they cannot die, and you get them on your team. And while playing it, I was like, this is wild, because, you know, when you play that, you know, most games, you're like, okay, well, this is a story element, so people are eventually just got to die, right? Like if the immortal who can't die dies in my party, we still lose. However, in that game, if you have some of the immortal characters in your party, they do go down, but they would just get knocked out for a couple of rounds and then get back up. And I thought that was cool as shit. So if this game takes like some of its like story, like it's talking about, and introduces like mechanics and stuff through that, man, I just thought that was so cool. So I'm super excited to see what they come out with. I really want to see what they do.
And I mean, you know, like the other games, it's Game Pass day one, so you know it's going to cost us nothing.
Yep.
So I'm definitely gonna give it a shot. I'm excited about that. The last thing I wanted to talk about from the developer direct was basically just a general what the hell, Bethesda, because the Oblivion remake has been floating around in rumors and scuttlebutt. It's all over the internet. You know, there's a million YouTube videos talking about it, and they won't show it.
Yep.
And it's starting to piss me off.
Yep. That kind of comes back to me with the whole, like, I just feel like they are very mismanaged, or they're just not confident in what they have to offer, and they don't know really what they want to do, and it's just weird.
So you talk about mismanagement. Between Skyrim's original release and the Elder Scrolls 6 teaser trailer, it was 2,400 days. It's been 2,420 days since the Elder Scrolls 6 teaser trailer. The teaser trailer is older now than what Skyrim was when they teased Elder Scrolls 6.
Oh my God. Yeah, you're right.
And that kind of weaves into this larger discussion, because, you know, if Elder Scrolls 6 comes out in 27, which I think is, you know, based on Bethesda's track record, maybe even a little positive.
Yep.
You know, it's going to be 15 years since Skyrim.
Yep.
Or 16 years. And then that puts the Fallout 5 release in maybe 2023 or 2024, which is close to 20 years since Fallout 4.
Yep.
Did Starfield really set this studio back 20 years?
And it's even worse to think about, like,
is that going to be the ultimate cost of a mediocre ass sci-fi game?
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, it's even worse to think about how just not good Starfield was. And like, so we were talking earlier about Switch doing stuff that is, like the Switch 2 feeling like it's safe.
Yeah.
Feel like this is part of why, because like there is very much the real payoff, or the reality of a game studio trying something new like Starfield, and it just not being good, either through bad design, bad direction, mismanagement, which we've talked about several times so far. Like, there's all these different things, and there's a like if you're running a multi-million-dollar corporation, which inevitably can take some of these hits, but your duty is to make shareholders happy and
Make them money.
And make them money, and at the same time trying to appease your fans. And you create, like, can you make something good? Absolutely you can. But the inevitable reality is you're going to make, eventually, because nothing lasts forever. Look at Blizzard, for example. Eventually you're going to make your Starfield.
Yeah, you're going to run out. Yeah.
And so, like, why take that risk, especially when like fans really just want another one of these same like 3 or 4 things you've been doing?
Yeah, just do the thing that we want.
And developer,
I was excited about Starfield.
Yeah.
But I want to know, and I want somebody in the industry to sit down with Todd Howard and say, did you really think that in 2023 or 2024, whenever the hell Starfield came out, that you could release a game with 1,000 loading screens and no mini map for the cities, and that was going to be okay? Did you really think people were going to look at this and say, hey, this is a top tier AAA title?
Yeah, everyone wants this. This is...
I mean, what kind of hubris is that on Bethesda and Todd Howard's part to believe that people would just look over stuff like that?
And also, let's charge 20 or 100. I think, didn't they have like a special edition at like $200 or something?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's...
Yeah. And then had the gall to charge for Shattered Space.
Yep.
Which was a giant shining turd on its own.
Yep.
And, I think they're just so lost. And at this point, I'm terrified for Elder Scrolls 6.
That's fair. I think that's a fair assessment. It goes back to, and that's another thing. You end up losing a lot of momentum. You end up losing a lot of motion. You end up losing a lot of confidence in your fans when you release a bad game like that. People,
it kills the hype.
It does. And there, unfortunately for some, like Microsoft and all these other studios, like people just look at it and be like, well, that game's gonna suck because this studio can't put out good games anymore. And that is a sad, terrifying truth, quite honestly.
It drives me crazy that we're only a few generations away from the Xbox 360 generation, where all 3 Mass Effect games came out in one console generation. Elder Scrolls 4 and 5 and Fallout 3 came out, and Fallout New Vegas all came out on the same console cycle. And now we're going to have to wait 20 years to get Fallout 5?
Yep.
It's just they're not being good stewards of the franchise that they have.
No, it's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. It's scary bad. But we can leave that there, and because there's plenty of other bad stuff to talk about. But at least Sony brought out the Executioner's Axe.
Yeah.
And they are single-handedly, I think, showing that the industry is killing live service games.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I don't know if you saw this, but apparently Sony, which in its own fit of hubris, had greenlit a Spider-Man, a God of War, and a Days Gone live service game. And they've since canceled all 3 because of Concord's epic disaster.
Good.
So what do you think about this pivot? Like, I mean, I think from my point of view, it's good that they had the wherewithal to step back and say, okay, we can't waste all this money and time on stuff that people frankly don't want.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes back to not being good stewards of your franchise, like we were just talking about with Bethesda. Like, how much have they wasted of this console generation chasing live service lottery dollars?
It's been a lot of that. I think so. Here's my thoughts on the whole live service in general, right? I think it is them trying to find a way to bring mobile gaming to the general population, because, and a lot of people will bitch and complain about like the don't you have phones thing from Blizzard, very famously, right?
Yep.
And I think I understand why people are mad, because, again, not good stewards of their franchise. It doesn't feel like that's a good source for people. People don't want that. It doesn't feel like, oh, well, why are you wasting your time on Diablo Immortal when you could be making Diablo 4, which, we all know came out. It's, some people love it, some people hate it, whatever, right?
Yeah, it is what it is at this point.
But here's the thing, and this is a thing that I think gaming studios need to figure out, and gaming management and whatnot. As we've talked about before on this show, gaming costs are skyrocketing, either through mismanagement or things being super expensive or whatever. And we've already talked about how people are angry that, like studios are like, well, let's charge $100 minimum. I don't think any of these things are the answer. And I don't think anyone thinks these things are the answer, right? Like, no one wants this to be it.
Yeah, no one on our side of the conversation.
No.
For sure.
And so what developers have done and studios have done in the meantime is say, let me make a mobile version of this thing that I know no major fan of Diablo, no major fan of whatever thing, whatever game will play. Let's make that, let the mobile market make us a ton of money, because mobile games cost next to nothing to make, and people play and will buy the shit out of microtransactions on them, because that's just the way that market is.
Yeah, they're just whale hunting,
Yes.
money printers.
Yes,
basically.
and let's let that fuel what we're doing. Let's let that fuel our development. So I think we as gamers need to understand that, like, that is a compromise, I guess, for lack of a better term. That is like a way for us to get what we want, maybe not in the exact way that we want it, and have our games, right, and pay for it without us having to pay $100, $150, $200 per game, right? I think that's where that sits. And with the live service, I think that's another way of them trying to find a way to monetize these things without necessarily charging $200 per game. And with that, I'm fine with. The problem is these live service games are not cheap to make, like a mobile game is, right? They're expensive.
No. Yeah, and they ruin studios.
And they absolutely ruin studios, because you need all hands on deck pretty much 100% of the time.
And look, I agree with you, and I'm fine with them making mobile tie-ins to games.
Mm-hmm.
But when you take a studio like Rocksteady, and they've made 3 really critically acclaimed games that will stand the test of time. They're fun.
Yep.
They're always going to be fun. They're based on an iconic character that's always going to be cool. And you tell them, go make me a live service slop game.
Yep.
With Suicide Squad.
Yep.
And then you give them $200 million, and they can't do it, because that's not what they do.
Yep.
You know, it wasted an entire console generation for one of the great studios that we had.
Yep.
Now, you know, the main talent at Rocksteady's left because Suicide Squad was such a disaster.
Yep.
But you know, and I think you see the same thing with Sony. Like, I cannot believe anyone would look at God of War and say, let's make a live service console game.
Yep.
Like, I don't understand how that thought process even happens. Like, I get that you're chasing that gotcha money.
Yep.
But go make go make a mobile game and slap God of War on that.
I agree. I think it better sits there. I don't,
Mm-hmm.
I think I get, like I said, I know what or at least I feel like I know what they're trying to do. I don't think it really works. Do live service games work? Absolutely.
They can.
They
can.
The right studio in the right hands and for the right reason. If your reason is to make a fun game that you want to let persist the test of time and be someone's forever game, if that is your purpose, yes. If your purpose, however, is to try to nickel and dime people, I think by default it's just not going to work.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at like Destiny, it's a really great example of one that is a tremendous success because you let a studio who's really good at something in first person shooting make a live service version of the thing that they're great at.
Yep.
Now, the things that Destiny are not good at, the story, that, all that kind of stuff, you can put that aside. You could pick that game up and it's fun to play. And it played well and it ran well and it looked good.
Yep.
But there was a time and place for that. Their next game, Marathon, there's zero hype for.
Yeah.
Because they ran Destiny into the ground.
They ran it into the ground
and wouldn't let it go.
And I genuinely don't think your average Bungie fan is an extraction shooter player. I just really don't.
I mean, at this point, I don't think anybody's an extraction shooter player.
They exist, but like it's rare, man. Like
it's a niche market. Though,
it is.
Right?
It is. It definitely is. Like there was a game that I played on stream not too long ago, sometime last year, called what was it? I think it was called Soul Mask, or is a game like that where like you could tell like it had extraction-y like permadeath elements to it. Like they were definitely trying to make like a Rust type thing, and I know Rust isn't an extraction game, but it had like those same elements to it, right?
Yeah. And
you could see where they had pivoted midway through development to be like, maybe we don't want to do this because we're not going to get this, like people aren't going to, oh no, it was Once Human was the game that I played where you could see the way that game is designed is they wipe the servers every like 3 months or some shit, right? And like that's fine on a Rust game where like you constantly want people to like rebuild and redo things and like you want to
start new characters and start new servers.
Yes, and that's fine. Yeah. Is it an extraction shooter? No, but it's kind of the same thing where like after a certain period you'd lose everything, whatever. But then they pivoted because I think they realized that the market that wants that is so niche.
Yeah, I feel like somebody at Bungie played The Division and went into the dark zone in The Division, which is their subset, their extraction built into The Division. And they were like, man, this is cool as hell.
Yep.
Let's build a whole game on it.
Yep.
Which is short-sighted. And then it was even more short-sighted by somebody at Sony to give this team maybe $100 million.
Yep.
The budget's not really out there, but there are reports that it's between 70 and 100 million is what they've already wasted on Marathon.
Oh my God, that's wild.
And it's gonna flop.
Yeah, it will.
Cares.
I don't think anyone.
There's zero hype. So,
and again, like this whole conversation essentially has been about like the general mismanagement of these games and these studios costing an astronomical amount of money. And
not giving players what they want.
Absolutely, yeah. Hey, Prince, welcome in, bro. Thank you for the redeems. I will stop shrimping and hydrate. We are talking about how bad management is at games, and For the new people that are here, this is Todd. You guys probably weren't here at the top of the hour, but he's one of my besties. And
What's up, guys?
and he is hanging out with us, and this is like one of our new like once a month conversation chill game industry talks. You know, it's the start of us trying to do like a potential podcast thing. So yeah, right now we're talking about live service games and how they are all shitting the bed. And yeah.
So speaking of shitting of the bed,
Yeah.
did you play Suicide Squad?
Man, Suicide.
It's okay. This is a safe place. You can admit your mistakes here.
Look, I played.
If you have a level 99 Harley Quinn, I'm not going to judge you.
I played Suicide Squad when it went free to play on the Epic Game Store. I played it for about 10 minutes, which was long enough to get through the long enough to get through the tutorial, and then I uninstalled it.
So, have you seen the animated cinematic that ends the game and wraps up the story?
No, because I care so little, but I want to. I want to care so much.
Do you care if I spoil it?
Go ahead. I don't give a shit. I'll never play that game.
All right, so you know, famously in this game, the one thing that people really talk about, aside from how bad it is that they kill Batman, right?
Yep. I know a lot of people are real pissed off about it, but yeah.
So it turns out they were clones all along.
Oh no! So
none of the Justice League is dead, and they're all fine.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah, so I mean, the story that they were trying to tell doesn't even have any weight.
Yeah.
Because again, nobody wants to play a game where you kill Batman. That's stupid.
No,
they shouldn't have done that to start with.
Especially, you know what makes me feel especially fucking horrible for that game is it was Kevin Conroy's swan song.
I know. It's the last dialogue he ever recorded, and they just pissed all over it.
And man, Kevin was my fucking hero. I had met him before at like a convention.
Yeah, he's the goat.
He's fantastic.
He is the best.
And like Troy Baker is another one of my favorite voice actors, and I remember watching an interview with him talking about how like he met Conroy and like had like his little nerd moment, and he was like, hey, I don't know, you know, I'm sorry to bring this up, because he fanboyed, because who the fuck wouldn't if you meet Kevin Conroy or just your fucking hero. And so he fanboyed and was like, you probably don't even remember the episode, but I remember blah, blah, blah. And he said that Kevin looked at him and immediately told him the episode name, the dialogue line and everything, and was like, that's one of my favorite episodes too. And
yeah, well, Kevin Conroy understood how important Batman the Animated Series was.
Absolutely. And
he did.
Prince said Kevin is the Batman. Absolutely. He is quintessentially Batman. Whether you know it or not, every time you listen to someone do their Batman voice, you are comparing them to Conroy 100% of the time.
Yeah, and the thing they all miss from Conroy is the really gentle, like happy inflection in his Bruce Wayne. You know, it sounds like two different people in a real understandable way.
Yeah.
And that's why he's the GOAT.
The thing I loved about Batman in general, and this is slightly off topic, but the thing I've always loved about Batman and the way Kevin portrayed it is that Batman is who he really is, and Bruce is the mask, where like most heroes is the other way, right?
Yeah, Bruce is the pretend person.
Which is just such a good character design, I think, when it comes to that kind of thing.
It's a stroke of genius. It really is.
It's beautiful. Even if they didn't mean for it to be that way, quite honestly, that's what it turned into, and that in of itself is just fantastic.
Yeah, it's so good. I love it so much. But yeah, for Suicide Squad just to ruin the last bit
legacy
of Kevin Conroy dialogue. But yeah, I thought you would get a kick out of the way the game just kind of ends with a whimper, and it meant nothing, and it ruined Rocksteady for a whole generation and maybe forever going forward.
And I feel particularly bad because I know the devs wanted nothing to do with it, right? Like the devs are sitting there forced to do that. And a lot of people are going to sit there and be like, well, Rocksteady sucks. They ruined Batman, blah, blah, blah. And devs get so much flack for so much shit that's entirely out of their control.
Yeah, so I saw a report that before they made this, they were working on a new IP, and it was like a tank combat game.
Yeah.
And an executive from WB come in, and they were like, "Hey, just slap some Suicide Squad stuff on this because we got a movie coming out."
Please don't.
And that's why that game was a Suicide Squad game.
Oh my God.
That's it. I mean, just because some moron who doesn't know anything about video games or movies, apparently.
Yeah, that's fucking miserable.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I mean, that, again, I've said it 30 times already. Mismanagement, bloating things that like no one wants anything to do with. And it's gaming now is infected. And I don't use that word remotely lovable. Gaming is infected with like these number crunchers, people that don't play gaming. If you,
people that have never turned on a console.
Yeah, I know you have played I know you have read the newest like Blizzard Jason Schreier book.
Yeah.
And seen like how just awful it is. And like he specifically mentions like in that book several times about just these, they couldn't figure out what to do, or they were having money issues, and they would bring these number crunchers in that like just basically do accounting. Like famously, one of the head guys that now made all the decisions at Blizzard didn't play games. He was a finance guy for like marketing shit. And he was just like, nah, just do this because this is how this works, without knowing like just all this other stuff and shitting on players and what players want for the sake of profits.
Yeah, and that's going to make a great game,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's why we have Overwatch 2.
So like sad.
It's bad.
So okay, so you want to talk about mismanagement and sadness?
Yeah.
Let's if there was a whimper sound that you could play right now, we would play it. Maybe the sad clown music, but it's BioWare's dead.
I think so.
I don't know if you saw the sales numbers for Veilguard, but they said they had less than 1.5 million engagements with the software, which means that they sold way less than that.
Yep.
Under 1 million probably. And I worry about what it's going to do for the future of Mass Effect. I think BioWare is just done.
You think so? You think that's...
I think Dragon Age is definitely done.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll go back to that franchise for a really long time, which is sad because I love it so much.
Dragon Age...
The lore is deep and thoughtful and really amazing, and not at all what Veilguard is. Like if people are judging the franchise based on Veilguard, they should go back and play Dragon Age 1.
So the wild thing about Dragon Age is that it's coming to the realization of Mass Effect story is just Dragon Age with a sci-fi paint on it, right? Like some of the characters are roughly the same. The villain can be roughly the same. A lot of the things that happen are roughly the same, right?
Yeah, they had one good story in them, basically.
Yeah, they had one good story and they just kept fucking going. And that's fine. If that's what you do, if that's what you got in you, that's fine, because people love aesthetics. People have preferences. So, someone will play Dragon Age and be like, I hate this because I prefer sci-fi, and then play Mass Effect. And you can draw direct, lines between them being roughly the same thing and be like, this is a masterpiece. It's the best thing I've ever seen. And that's perfectly fine. And it's sad to see, Mass Effect kind of went through it too, but I don't think nearly as bad. It's sad to see it get to this point where it just, the franchise is broken. Once again, to tie it back to our earlier discussion, a byproduct of Let's Go live service with a franchise that we have that we know people love, even though because we want to get money out of it, not because we want to make like a wonderful thing and we think we have something here.
Yeah, me and you talked about this before. I think it's pretty clear from the character models and the way the game actually functions and plays that Veilguard started as something very different.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was a live service game.
It was. They've already said, like, even in the initial development phases, they outright talked about how they are making a live service game out of Dragon Age. And when I told many friends that, they were like, oh no. The first thing anyone ever said was like, oh my God, why? And the answer is because they wanted money, not because they genuinely thought that they needed to make anything out of it, unfortunately.
So I think the other really sad thing that we have to talk about with Veilguard is the DEI controversy, the gender politics that are associated with the game that I don't think you can divorce from the game's failure. I think it had a real effect on the game. You know, it's really hard to overcome negative stereotyping, you know, maybe is the wrong word, or negative marketing, you know. But once this game got out in the wild, there was a certain idea of what it was. And that latched on so hard, and it never went away because it kind of felt right. You know, the one character in the game that's non-binary is really kind of shoved down your throat.
It also felt like they were handled incredibly poorly. Like
very poorly. I mean,
I have, you know, I have several friends that are non-binary, several friends that are trans, and I love them with all my heart. And
same here.
You know, some of them are okay with that character. It's hard to have an opinion on it myself because I don't come from that, you know, that's not my forte of experience. But I definitely felt like the character just was not handled very well. But the problem is with that whole discussion is people will see that and be like, this ruined the game, and use that as a scapegoat. When the truth is almost every fucking character in that game was handled poorly. And unfortunately, just a byproduct of them being there gives people something to hold on to and say this is why it failed, when it is absolutely not the reason, but a reason.
No, it's a symptom of the game being a live service, shallow as a 1-inch pool of water character archetype kind of game. Because you're exactly right. Every character in the game is the same thing. That character is just the one that is supposed to represent the non-binary community.
And that's the one that
it so poorly.
It was so bad, and it was, oh my God, I hated it.
There's no nuance, there's no explanation. She literally says, "Hey, I'm non-binary."
And that's fine, like, you know, to come out with and stuff. It was just not handled well. And at least for me, like when I saw that character, for the record, I was immediately like, I want to romance this character because they're kind of, you know, like just initially they're kind of cool. Like I don't normally romance those kind, like
hot two-handed ex-mommy.
Exactly, right? And the more I found out about them, I was like, you're kind of a fucking child. Like, you're just not a fun character to be around in any sense or fashion. Like, it was just annoying to deal with.
And I think they understand like the far-reaching ramifications, like how much this hurts people who are non-binary or trans.
It absolutely fucks them.
You know, this negative stereotyping that stems from this piss poor character development. Like, if you don't care enough to do it well, don't do it well. Or don't do it at all. Right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. I'm the same way.
But the reason I really wanted to talk about this, aside from, you know, just how shitty it is my background in quality assurance. Part of that is risk assessment and cost benefit analysis. And when you look at the list of the 10 highest selling games of all time, none of these games are really what I call message games. They don't really have anything to say.
Yep.
Like, like Dragon Age, whatever you think about it, it was trying to say something.
Mm-hmm.
It failed, but it was trying. And maybe, the only correlation you could make is in GTA 5, the stories about how capitalism sucks.
Yep.
But that's a message that kind of everybody can get, be down with, I think.
Especially these days. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, when I look at the failure of BioWare, to me, it's going to be an industry-wide failure where people are not going to be allowed to tell nuanced stories that enhance representation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sad. We're gonna get a lot of just bare bones gameplay focused stuff that doesn't say anything. I'm worried about gaming no longer being a safe place for storytellers because it's so expensive to make games.
That is part of it. I think you see a lot of that in like the indie games now, where and kind of like we were talking earlier, where like gaming is probably just going to fall to like an indie thing, where like you have to rely on these much smaller games with much lower budgets to actually tell an interesting story.
Yeah, if you want a story and you want to say something meaningful, you're going to have to do it in a $20, indie game that's pixelated, probably.
And that sucks. Like, there was a game that came out that these two creators did called My Dragon Cancer, where they lost their child to, cancer.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, and you would that kind of storytelling. Oh my God, beautiful!
It's so deep. And
and just like one of my favorite games ever is Journey. Yeah. And I am not ashamed to admit when I beat that game, I fucking cried, dude. Like that shit like hit hard because you don't know what that game is until you finish it.
Yeah, these games like Journey and Celeste and, Life is Strange, even, on a lower level, they make it okay for a certain group to exist.
Yep.
And they want to tell these people that it's okay to be who you are.
Yep.
But I don't think going forward from a business perspective, there's going to be a place for that in mainstream AAA gaming.
No, it's going to be difficult to find. I think developers are going to try, because that's the default, right? But are they going to do a good job of it? I don't know. I
think you're wrong. I don't think people are going to be allowed to try.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't think people are going to be able to make $100 million Veilguard, that flops so hard in every aspect, and just because people are going to be scared of getting negative press. Like these people online that harass, underserviced and underprivileged communities and groups of people, they're becoming a much louder and bigger contingent of society than any of us want to admit or or think about the ramifications of them existing. But they're not the silent majority anymore. They're loud and they're mean.
Yeah.
And they don't spend money on things that anyone says is woke or DEI. Their wallets are just automatically closed.
Yep. That definitely exists.
Michael Jordan famously said that Republicans buy shoes too.
Yeah.
That's why he'd never dipped into political messaging. And I think you're going to see that in big game studios where they're going to shy away from messages.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. I hope that's not the case, because I would rather people just use games as like a truthful storytelling device, whether people like hearing it or not. Hey, Shakes, welcome in. I hope you're doing well. So my little brother, love him to death. I'm doing everything I can to help him. He hangs out with a lot of those like far right leaning people. I am trying to use my influence not to steer him in any particular direction, but I want him to come to the conclusion naturally, Yeah. So I will go into his Discord and like have chats with people and stuff, and it's an open conversation. And I do, like, if we have a conversation, I'll be like, hey man, do you think that's right? Like, why do you Like, what makes you think this is okay, right? And then we'll have that conversation, and I will let him reach like a logical conclusion.
Yeah.
Like him and his friends use like racial slurs sometimes, right? And I'll be like, bro, like, come on.
Yeah, you
like,
gotta quit.
like, why are you doing that? And he's like, well, they say it. Yeah. The inevitable response I get is the one you expect is like they say it too kind of stuff.
Yeah, everybody else is doing it.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's them, man. Like you need to be better.
Yeah, you can choose to be better than that.
Yeah, and we've had conversations of like me telling him like, you just I get, because especially where I grew up is a very small town. I've told people before it had one stop sign. We didn't get McDonald's till I was in the 7th grade, which is fucking wild to think about, but it's tiny. My graduating high school class was 60 people. 30 of which actually graduated. Like half the class failed high school. So that's the town that he's from. Low intelligence, low expectations, right? And you tend to see a lot of that there. And a lot of these people do feel marginalized because they feel like the world has left them behind, right? And I get it. And that makes people angry. And what do these people do? They lash out at everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've told my brother, like, I left that place for a reason, because I see it's low intelligence. It's not what I want to be. And I get that you are lonely there and there's not much else to do and there's no one else to hang out with. Literally, there's no place to go have fun. There's nothing to do. You just sit online if you have good internet, because we've had the conversation before, Todd, where like a lot of these places still have like the worst cable you could think of, or dial up if they're lucky.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of places in rural Alabama still don't have broadband access.
Yes, and so there's a lot of that, and you see a lot of these people in those areas, right? Because
Absolutely.
they only know what they're around. But back on point, I have told him sometimes you just got to leave these people behind, and there is no shame in moving on with your life and putting it back and putting people on the back burner, and they will give you shit. But another thing I told him is you are only as good as the people you surround yourself with, whether you believe it or not. Like, that's just...
Yeah, it's a big world out there, and you have to go out and find new ideas that challenge you to grow.
Yep. And it's easy to sit back and not do a fucking thing and just be like, you know what, this is my life and I'm going to chill. But then you're 30, you're 40, you're 50, you're 60 years old, and you're like, where the fuck did my life go? And I sat around doing all this. And so I've been spending a lot of my time with those groups trying to help him like grow. And I know specifically, even though he says, or he's with these people that say these things, like one of the people in that group has even said, like, I don't want to play that game. It's got DEI shit in it. And I will challenge them and be like, how does that affect you? Other than possibly like playing a good game. And my little brother, he will laugh about it, but he will also play it. And I know it's just for him to fit in, and do a thing. I know he's not a bad person. I know he means well. And so that's part of why I sit and chat with them, because I feel like in that whole conversation, I feel like people on both sides need to be willing to have a conversation, because the moment you put up your walls and break and like just remove all chance to have like that discussion, even if you don't want to have the discussion, but the moment you close off conversation, I think both sides have already lost the battle.
Well, yeah, if you surround yourself in just an echo chamber, you never get a chance to grow. You have to let people challenge your ideas.
Yep. And I think for that kind of stuff specifically, there's no contest of like, this is particularly wrong, right? But it still, having conversations with me helps me know where they're coming from. And I grew up with it, but I learned, like, even having moved, like, they have new struggles and new problems and stuff that they're dealing with that I didn't deal with, right? And back to the point of like that kind of stuff, I do think it's going to shape gaming. I don't think it's going to. I think you're still going to have studios that try. I don't know if they're going to be good or not because, you know, it's without like the monetary backing of a lot of this stuff gets expensive. Yeah. I also know you're going to have studios that inevitably try to capitalize on both sides. Like, I don't know if you saw Dustborn.
No.
Oh boy. So let me see. Dustborn, very famously it is a horrible game. It's not good in the slightest. It was made and advertised as a very like pro left game. Mm-hmm. But when you play it, it seems more like it's making fun of it. Like it's very like everyone has like their own little thing. There's like a game mechanic. So it's an RPG. It's like an interactive RPG kind of thing, right? And there's a game mechanic where one of the characters says like one of the game mechanics is to like, hey, we can do this and bait them and we can get them canceled. And that's basically like a silence or kicks them out of the battle or whatever. Mm-hmm. I see what they're doing as far as like a game mechanic goes and relating it to it, but it feels fucking scummy, right? And it's like that's not at all what that is supposed to be. But then you dig further and you find out this was made by a Norwegian company. Like a Norwegian guy made this.
So they're just totally playing on the strife somewhere else.
Yeah.
Making money on it. So,
yeah. And it caused a lot of like in those spaces, it caused a lot of turmoil because like you had these two sides of people that were fucking like suddenly up in arms about like, you know, you have people going, this is not what this actually is. And then you had the other people that are like, this is why we don't like your games, or this is why we don't like it because this is how it is. And all it did was give them ammo. And then you have a guy not even related, not even in the political like spectrum, just sitting there and capitalizing on it. I mean, the game sold like shit, and it looking on Steam, it has a 59% because, you know, I don't think it hit its target audience because the people that didn't want to play it didn't. The people that thought it was going to just be woke trash didn't play it. The people that were interested would start playing it and drop it because it was not remotely what they thought it was going to be, you know? And so I definitely think there's going to be a place where you're going to have people try to take advantage of this shit, unfortunately. And that sucks. I think that's bad for everybody involved. That's very unfortunate.
No, I totally agree. The other thing I'm kind of worried about is like emboldening, you know, these online trolls. You know, they think that they made a real difference with Veilguard. You know, that they crushed EA and they showed them that they can't make, you know, quote unquote woke DEI games, you know. And I'm really worried about giving that contingent of people who play games a voice.
There will be, and there will always be, in my opinion, that side of people. And there's a very specific person I have in mind that I'm not going to mention because he's just a garbage person. If you know internet personalities, you probably know who I'm thinking about. But
Asmongold?
No, not him.
He sucks too.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. But those anti-woke DEI folks will be a lot fucking louder nowadays. Yeah, they will, because they feel emboldened, and that's normal. I agree, Shakes. But there's one particular person that, like, for example, Stellar Blade came out, did well. They hyped it up, said it was going to be fantastic. Said it was going to be their that it wasn't going to be censored, blah blah blah. They changed an outfit in it, and I know people joke and say it's a Gooner game, and it absolutely is. It's hot pretty girl you know, in like bikinis and shit that you play. The game itself was fine. I didn't think it was anything great. I played it on stream. I thought it was pretty okay. I thought it was incredibly derivative. If I had to judge it with one word, I would say just derivative, in that it did absolutely everything Nier Automata did without being remotely as good. And that's, you know, whatever it is. But when that game came out, there was that loud voice that was like, oh, they're censoring our game because they changed like one of the bikinis, one of the One Piece outfits, to have like a slight covering over the chest. And it's like, nah, we just, like, even the head dev came out and was like, nah, we just wanted to make it look different. Like, we weren't like, it wasn't like that was our thing. And they didn't believe them. They're like, nah, Sony is forcing you to say that, blah, blah, blah. And it got really bad. When the game came out, they eventually added more. There's a whole video we could watch on it. And Chad, if you're interested in watching it sometime, we can. It's like hours long. It's wild. But eventually they released another swimsuit that was like the same thing, like that it was originally going to be. And the same person was like, this is not a win because they didn't do exactly what we wanted to do, blah, blah, blah. Game sold, did well, blah, blah. And suddenly it was a victory. And it's like, this is why we do what we do. And the person very specifically was like, I'm the one that heralded this anti-woke, blah, 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 anti-censorship kind of stuff, right? Come to find out, months later, he made a post and admitted to having never played the game.
Well, I mean, it's that rage bait, you know, it drives clicks and engagement. Like,
and that is what a lot of this is. It is a lot of people that are farming engagement and grifting like motherfuckers. Yeah. And they are just trying to form echo chambers. And that's why I say we need to be willing to open conversation and just talk to people and just treat people like people, even if they are even if they don't agree with you, like, just have a conversation. Because if you talk to these people and just treat some of these people like they're real people, like I do in my brother's Discord server, and just have a conversation and tell them, hey man, why do you feel that way? Let's talk this out. Let's try to hit a logical conclusion. Like, what makes you?
Why can't you just treat people with basic?
You will eventually come across somebody. Yeah, you will eventually come across somebody that is just full of hate, and there is no hope there. And that's when you're like, all right, I tried, you know. But like, there's a lot of them that like I've got to come around, and they're really cool about it, you know. And it's been cool just having that conversation. And I've even told them, like, hey, if, you know, my little brother wants to visit me, I'm like, hey, you guys come hang out. We'll have a good time. I'll show you that life. There is more to life than sitting in a shitty town with like the only job is like a fucking gas station and like local rundown stores, you know, like it's opening the door for people and having the conversation and being like, you know, that guy that's telling you all this stuff, they're conning you. They're using you because they know they can, because they know you're not going to look it up, because they know you're going to take everything at face value, and they could just use you for profit and their own personal gain. And that's shitty, but those people exist. And I think we need to be willing to have those conversations.
No, I think that's a good point for sure.
I wish for that guy to have his dick slammed in the door repeatedly, wet socks for eternity. Yeah, that's the least of his problems. If you can have the conversation, cool, but that's not for everyone. Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, not everyone can, and that's fine. I get it. But I definitely feel like if we shut them out, then we shut out a lot. Because if you look, at one point in my life, I genuinely thought that most people were just bad people. I genuinely thought the worst, because that is part of the environment I came from, right? As I grew up and saw events and stuff, when you see things like 9/11, when you see like horrible disasters happen, when you see like all these bad things happen to people, at the end of the day, I genuinely believe no matter what, people want to help each other. They just let their own self-preservation and other socio-economical issues get in the way. But I don't think a lot of these people are bad. Are there bad people? Abso-fucking-lutely. There is evil in the world, but I don't think it's anything beyond that. Hey, Kai, welcome in, bro. Thank you for the raid. Let me give you a shout out. 1 second, Todd.
Nice. But just to kind of piggyback off what you were saying, I think the bad people are just the loudest they've ever been now, right?
They are. And
I think that's what people are seeing.
Yeah, we're gonna have a, especially with the recent election, it's gonna happen. It happened for 4 years, right? Before. Yeah. And it sucks and it's shitty. You're going to see it happen again for these 4 years because they feel emboldened. They won, right? But I don't think they won. Like, there are people that think they won for the reasons they think they won for, but I don't think the general person really did that because they believe. I think that the average person did it because they just are self-motivated through self-interest, kind of like we were just talking about. And they did it because they want to see the price of eggs go down, man. Like,
yeah, I was going to say, I think it was mainly just price motivated to kind of bring the whole conversation back, full circle to what we started with. Yeah. People want cheap stuff, nobody wants. And I think it's really just that simple.
Hey, Kai, I'm doing great, man. How are you? There's a lot of people who are realizing what happened and are regretting their votes. Yeah. And it's the same fucking thing happened before. Like, it is what it is. It is in part exactly what we just talked about, where people are using people's ignorance and inability to research things to their own profit without any love, care, desire to do anything for themselves, and they're just taking advantage of it. Are prices going to go down? Absolutely the fuck not. If anything, they're going to go up. Like my little brother, for example, had the conversation where he was like, I'm super excited. I'm going to rebuild a PC. I'm going to do blah, blah, blah. And I was like, hell yeah, I hope you buy your shit before those tariffs go into play. And he was like, what do you mean? And then I explained to him what a tariff actually is. And he was like, oh shit, they don't fucking know. 90% of the people that you talk to about that stuff don't know. They didn't do their research. They just took it at face value.
It is amazing how many people do not understand that the foreign country does not pay tariffs.
I know. It's bad. It's really bad. It's
shockingly bad.
Doing good. Very sleepy. Going to run to bed. Thank you, Kai. I appreciate it. I appreciate you being here, man.
So just to kind of wrap the whole thing up and put a bow on it.
Yes.
That's all the 5 things I had that I wanted to talk about.
Hell yeah. No, I mean, I think it was a good conversation for sure.
I do. I think we should end though. What have you been playing this week?
This week,
are you still neck deep in Marvel Rivals? Tell the truth.
So I've been playing a whole bunch of Rivals off stream. I haven't had a chance to play it on stream lately.
Are you an Invisible Woman main now?
Absolutely not. I want to get Wolverine to work. I want to play as like DPS, but I think,
why is Wolverine not a tank?
His
whole mutant deal is regenerating. He should be a tank.
You would think so, but the way that game works, do you know how Wolverine operates as a character?
I've been killed by him a bunch.
A lot of people don't. So Wolverine does damage based on the amount of health the person has. Mm-hmm. So he does percentage-based damage. He kills a 400, 500 HP target the exact same time that he kills a 250 HP target, right?
Yeah.
He's a tank killer, because why would you go kill someone with 250 health?
That you can kill somebody with 800 health.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, okay. Well,
and so his job, if the person is playing him correctly, is to keep tanks in check. Okay. And that's why he's not a tank. If you think, I agree, like conceptually he should be a tank, but if you look at the way design works, and if you look at the way like some of his past comics, who's the most important people he's fought? Like Hulk, Magneto.
Yes. Yeah,
like
Silver Samurai. Yeah.
Yeah, like he fights tanky characters a lot because people want to see this tiny fucking 5 foot tall Canadian man beat the shit out of someone that's like 8 feet tall, right?
Yeah, I can't get over his character model in the game. I hate it so much.
Really?
Yeah, God, I hate it. I just make him look like the Wolverine from the comics.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah,
It doesn't bother me because I see like short, stocky man, and I get that build.
I guess I just want dreamy Hugh Jackman, you know. Yeah, maybe.
Did you see the Deadpool versus Wolverine movie and see like the cut to realistic Wolverine, and he's like super fucking tiny? I thought that was fantastic.
The comic accurate 5'4" Wolverine.
I was thinking of getting this game.
Amazing.
Loved the concept of the survival one. Yeah, Locke, we picked this because we're having our little podcast talk over gameplay just to try see how it works, and it's been super fun, super cozy. Thinking about getting Rivals, you should, Shakes. It's super cool. If you're into the it is super free. You may as well just try it, right?
Yeah.
If you're into the hero shooter thing, I think you'd have a great time with it. And honestly, like, goes to anyone listening, anyone watching. I typically every Saturday I host an open lobby, so if people want to play with me, they can just hop on and play, and there's no judgment. There's no call outs. I don't get angry at people. If people want to be taught, I'm happy to teach them if they're thinking about doing it competitively, because I solo queued all the way up to Grandmaster in season 0. That's my thing. Like I'm happy to help. And if people just want to play and have a good time, hell yeah. But we do that every Saturday, essentially. Outside of Rivals though, have I played anything else this week? We did Sketchies on Wednesday night, which is like a Lethal Company kind of spooky vibe, and that's been a lot of fun. But I honestly, gaming wise, I don't think I played anything else. Oh, take it back. I did pick up I did pick up Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah,
and I played it for a little bit, and I was like, yeah, I want this. I want to inject that into my soul, and I've thought about playing it on stream because I know a lot of people like watching that game because it's so fucking cinematic and cool looking, but it's so hard to play.
Yeah.
So I've thought about it, but I just don't know when I would do it because my schedule is so strapped right now.
Feel you there.
Outside of that, I think that's been the only thing. I know that Final Fantasy Rebirth came out on PC. I already 100%ed that bitch on PS5. I want to play it really, really badly on PC because it looks phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm really surprised you haven't cranked that shit up to max.
But that's the thing. I only have a 3080 GPU. I have a friend that is building a PC for me and can get a 5090 wholesale. I am, he's been on stream before for people that are here. His name is Tinky. Fantastic, lovely, just wholesome, amazing guy, super nice. But he runs a computer shop, and he talks to like wholesalers, and they give him stuff for discounts, and he's told me how much it would be to build, and it's way cheaper than if I would have done it myself, including paying him, and he lives not far from me actually, and he's gonna like just drive it to me, and we'll set it all up. Yeah, exactly. And I told him, I was like, hey man, if you bring me this thing, not only will I pay you, we'll go out to lunch, we'll have a great time, like we'll hang out,
So you're going to be running Cyberpunk at max with like 250 frames?
Hell yeah, I am.
That's what I'm talking about.
So that's the thing. I'm like, I really want to play it. I've already beaten it. I can wait till I get a 5090 and just jack that motherfucker up. I also am doing it because like Rivals, for example, I cannot run Rivals at max. I can even run Rivals at medium and stream at the same time. I have to put that thing on low. So.
Oh, yeah, that's just a travesty.
Yeah. Which game was this? What do you mean, Chicks? The game we're playing now is Aloft, but if they're talking about the one we were just talking about, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I think it requires, I looked at the requirements. It is a 4080.
Yep. I looked at
for
it too.
high. Yeah. And I was like,
For high, you can run it with a 4060,
yeah, but
you're only going to get like low mid graphics.
yeah, the only reason why, like for me, like I could run it probably on high, not ultra with my 3080, but I want to run that motherfucker on extreme because I've already played the game. I've already seen it look good on a PS5. I want it to look amazing.
Yeah.
What have you been playing?
So jealous. So two things. I went back and I cleaned up the new Indiana Jones game, finished it. And I got sucked into I love simulation and management games. You know, I'm a real freaking nerd for that stuff. So 2 Point makes games that Sega publishes, like the one that I started this week is Campus. It's you build a college.
Yeah,
and you manage the college. They have a new one coming out in March where you build museums.
Hell yeah.
I'm really, because I'm a museum nerd too, so I'm really excited for that. So I lost an embarrassing amount of hours of my life to the 2 Point Campus this week. Yeah.
Hell yeah. I remember I think I played 2 Point Hospital because the girl I was with at the time is a nurse, and it was like
I love Hospital. It's hilarious.
Yeah, she doesn't do like those kind of games, but she would get a laugh out of me telling her like what I did and like, you know, the treatments and stuff. And it was funny as shit. Genuinely just amazing.
Yeah, so that's pretty much been my week in gaming.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Okay.
What games are you looking forward to this incredibly stacked month?
Oh, boy, that's tough.
Yeah. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, they're really too many. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's anything really coming out this month that I'm actually going to sink my teeth into really hard.
So you mentioned like simulation games. Do you play Civ at all?
I do, but God, I don't want to lose my soul to Civ 7. and I know me, and I will no life it like I want to.
Oh yeah.
Bad, but,
yeah.
You know, I just can't. I don't have time for it right now.
In fact, one of the funny things, you know, I mentioned kind of at the early stream, or actually maybe I didn't. I think it was off stream. I mentioned, you know, me having a chat with that PlayStation esports guy. He plays Civ, like not exclusively because he apparently is a big competitive Halo player. But which floored me. But he was like, yeah, I can't wait for Civ 7 to come out. I'm going to take time off of work. I'm not doing anything that week. And I was like, go you. And my mutual friend and I were just laughing about an esports manager that basically only plays Civ. I thought that was cool as shit.
I mean, the other thing is, you know, probably Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 looks really cool. You know, I'm worried about Avowed. I really want to play it, but you know, I don't know. It hasn't wowed me
from the previews and stuff.
Yeah. The previews just, I don't know. It looks smaller scale than I was expecting. Yep. Maybe that's a good thing. You know, maybe it's more Outer Worlds than Fallout New Vegas. But you know, I don't love Outer Worlds. So I'm, you know,
I want to take off a week from Monster Hunter Wilds, but I can't. I feel you there.
I was fixing to say the other big thing that people are going to lose their lives to is Monster Hunter Wilds.
That's going to be mine. See, this is part of why I'm struggling with, like, I want that 5090. I want to play Monster Hunter. I want to play it on stream because it's going to be a great game for like my community and people that are here to play with. It's going to be super fun. My computer will not run it and stream at the same time. There's no fucking way. It's just not happening.
So can we expect the first Assassin's Creed Shadows stream? Like,
not happening.
February.
You know what? I may actually. It won't be the first Assassin's Creed game I've skipped, but I sure the fuck ain't gonna play it on launch.
No, I'm not either. That's a total, you know, buy when it's discounted for me.
Yeah. I don't even know if I'll do that.
It looks cool, but you know, I don't know. After Valhalla, I just, you know, I'm kind of over it.
I haven't played an AC game since 3. Outside of like Black Flag, I don't think you've missed much, quite honestly. Dude, you know what? I take it back. Odyssey was genuinely fun.
I was fixing to say, do not sleep on Odyssey.
Yeah, Odyssey was actually really good.
Because it takes the best parts of Black Flag and then puts it in that
Yep.
Greek Roman mythology setting.
Yep. And
Beautiful.
I'm a fucking sucker for Greek mythology. Like,
yeah, me too. Just play as Cassandra, the male character in that game sucks.
that's where I fucked up. I played as the male, and I had gotten so far before like reviews and stuff came out talking about how good her voice acting was, and I was like, well, can't go back now.
Amazing. Her voice actor is fantastic.
I played the first, didn't like the second. Odyssey was the fucking best. That's all I've done in AC. That's fair. I think 2 is my favorite, but I love Ezio. I think he's the best like main character protagonist they had.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's when Assassin's Creed was actually Assassin's Creed. Odyssey's not really an Assassin's Creed game.
No, but
it's an open world game.
I do agree with what you said though, where they took what was the one that came out before it that was just kind of okay.
The one in Egypt.
Yeah, it was. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
I can't remember the name.
That should tell you all you need to know about it. But
it was boring as shit.
It was boring. It just wasn't that great. And I love Egyptian mythology too, but like they just didn't have enough of that fantasy vibe with it that they ended up going with Odyssey.
The ship combat in Odyssey just breaks up the gameplay loop so satisfyingly. It's just fun.
Yeah, and what I was going to say is that game essentially walked so that Odyssey could run, because you could tell they learned a lot, so much from that game that they put into Odyssey, and it was genuinely good. And Odyssey, I think, was like a 50, 60-hour game, and I loved every fucking second of it.
Yeah, I mean, you could play it for 100 hours if you wanted to.
Yeah, it was just good. Dense. Everything about it was absolutely fantastic.
So the other thing that I think would be really funny for you to stream is Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza. It looks freaking ridiculous.
It does.
Dude.
For whatever reason, at least with my community, Like a Dragon doesn't. The initial Like a Dragon games don't really do well because it is a shitload of cutscenes and storytelling and stuff.
Yeah.
But these games are way more action based and they're a little more goofy. I may try it because
it looks so stupid.
Yeah, and
crazy.
Absolutely.
I'm the best way.
I'm considering it.
Yeah.
For me, I'll probably skip Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I want to play it. I love the first one, but I don't think it's going to really hit. It's just there's other games coming out that I would rather play, and that's just I'm gonna have to start doing competitive in Marvel soon.
Yeah,
I haven't had time to do it yet, and a lot of this is gonna be like, man, I need to do comp. I need to do it. I gotta do it. You know, that kind of brain rot that I have for it.
I mean, I hate it for Kingdom Come, but I really think that game's not going to pop off till it goes on Steam sale.
I think so, yeah. Because
I think it's going to be a very popular.
A lot of the conversations I've seen have been people being like, "What's the price?" is generally the first question, and is the combat better than the first one, or have they done things different? And I think. I think Deliverance 2 hits a niche where it's like a medieval sim, and you're going to have those like medieval nerd fans that like are all over it, because I liked the first one. I thought it was good, but this one, from what I've understood, is more of the same, and it doesn't do much different other than like shore some things up. So like if you... I think people that love the first one will love the second one, but I don't think it's going to pull anyone else in, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah.
Outside of that, I will probably try Avowed. It's going to be on Game Pass, so I mean, why the fuck not? You know?
Yeah, I'm going to play it.
My worry with it is probably the same worry you have, in that all the previews I've seen from it are glowing, but it's only the starter area. And I've played enough games to know you can't go off of any starter area, because you can easily front load the shit out of a game and then have absolutely nothing past like the first 20 hours and it be a completely different game. Look at Knights of the Old Republic, the MMO that came out. That game, when it came out, the starting, like I remember when that game hit beta, And like they were like, yeah, come play this. It's the first like 10 levels essentially. I was like, holy shit, this game is amazing. And there was nothing after that. They eventually fixed it and made it good, right? But like, when it first came out, it was like everyone quit after like the first little bit because like there was just nothing to do. And I'm worried that they front loaded the shit out of this game and that.
Well, I mean, Outer Worlds was that way.
Yep.
When you got to the last city in the Outer Worlds, there's like 2 quests and the environment is so empty and sparse,
Absolutely.
So I'm concerned. I want to play it because I want it to be good.
Yep. And then outside of that,
I love Pillars of Eternity.
Oh, me too. I thought it was great.
Yeah, both of them are amazing.
Yeah. So outside of that, like we also said, Pirate Yakuza, he's my favorite fucking character, I think, in the entire series. So obviously I'm going to play as him. And so whether I stream it or not, I don't know. It may be a game I play off stream. I might try just to see if I can even fucking run it and play it at the same time. It may be a game I buy on PS5 and stream that way.
It does look like it's got a lot going on.
Yeah. So that, and also like Monster Hunter, that's gonna happen. I may take time off to play it. I don't know. I've already got friends. Like my little bro is like, I'm gonna lose my life to that game, and I'm like, you know what? That's fair, bro. Me right there with you. I get it. So, those are the main ones I think I'm looking for this February. There's other stuff coming out here or there. I think that's the big one. So
no, I get that.
So yeah, is there anything else you wanted?
I think that's it for me.
All right.
I think it's been a really good discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. Chat, if you guys enjoyed this, if you enjoyed hanging out, if you like the discussion, if you want to see more of it, please hop in my Discord. Let us know. The plan is to essentially cut this up and make it more of like a podcasty thing for people to listen to on like a YouTube channel, and also just post like the raw thing somewhere so that if people, want something to listen to in the background while they're doing work or whatever, they can have it. And it's just a discussion from 2 people that have been playing games for 30 plus years and have a lot of interest in it. If you don't know, Todd and I actually worked together way back in the day in a used game store. Not a used game store. It was a actual game store. We did sell a lot of used stuff though, but we at least have a little bit of perspective when it comes to the marketing side of things. And
yeah, it was a discount version of GameStop.
It was a discount version of GameStop. Now he's in charge of Bethesda. Todd is in charge of Bethesda. That is true.
Yeah, it's my. I apologize for Starfield.
Where's your leather jacket at?
It's in the closet. Don't worry. It's there. The
good Todd. He is the good Todd. Absolutely. We had a whole discussion earlier, guys, about Starfield and Bethesda and like what's been going on and all that stuff, kind of closer to the top of the hour. So if you guys want to go back and check that out, hell yeah. If not, I will be posting sometime this week. I don't really have a schedule set for this yet, but I will be posting it to my YouTube channel, and we'll try to build the stream and the channel that way. I've actually been enjoying Starfield. Yeah, it's got its good parts. I will tell you, when I played Starfield, I had just finished playing Baldur's Gate 3, which
That's rough.
To many people will be like, you should fucking hate Starfield because Baldur's Gate 3 was so good. However, I played Baldur's Gate 3 when it first came out, and so I couldn't take 5 steps in that game without someone trying to fuck my brains out, and I got so annoyed. And I know the devs said it was a bug. I don't know if I believe that or not. And I'm generally one to give devs.
It's not as bad now.
I'm generally one to give devs the benefit of the doubt. But I've played so many games where their romance options are like, let's just try to bang the player character and their player character sexual rather than just being people. And
You know, for a long time in BG3, there was a speed run component, the fastest record to bang Lazelle.
Yeah.
But because you could do it so fast in the
Yeah.
game just by being mean to her.
I believe they fixed it. I couldn't tell
Yeah.
if I was being a good friend to Gale or if he was trying to fuck me a lot of the time. Yeah.
Oh, Gail's super horny.
I very
horny.
specifically.
Yeah.
So here was my experience with it. I talked to Gale. We were being super friendly. He was like, "Hey man, after everyone goes to sleep, can we talk about some stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, sure." I thought he was. So the thing about Baldur's Gate 3 is every character you have has a drug addiction, or they have some sort of like dark secret, like they go snort cocaine in an alleyway after everyone goes to bed, and they don't want to tell you about it while everyone else is around, and that's understandable, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're typical RPG companions. They have problems.
And I thought Gale was just going to tell me what flavor of cocaine he snorted. And I get him out there and he's like, "Hey, do you want to fuck?" And I'm like, "Nah, dog, this is not what this is. What is wrong with you?" And I did not, the druid guy, Halson, I directly never had him in my party and he still tried to bang me. I was so over it. And the thing I loved about Starfield is I tried to romance the main girl, like the girl that was the lead of the Voyager or whatever. I forget her name.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And Sarah. I tried to romance her,
Sarah.
and I was talking to her, and I was like, "Hey, I think I like you," and she was like, "I don't think I'm ready for a relationship yet," and that floored the absolute fuck out of me. I did not know how to respond. And I thought, like, oh my God, this is a person. This is an actual character that has like feelings and thoughts, and they don't just want to bang me because I want to fuck them. You know what I mean? Like, it was so refreshing. And so I definitely think Starfield does a lot good, but it also does a lot wrong. And that's just genuine Bethesda issues at this point.
I really think if Starfield had come out in 2017 or 2018, that the conversation around it would be totally different.
Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely. It's,
because the industry had not moved past, loading screens with solid state drives and stuff at that point. And it's just, I think Starfield is more disappointing than it's bad.
It is.
Because of what I wanted it to be.
Absolutely. So, I did not like how they handled romance in the game because your flirt options came at the worst times during a conversation. That's fair. That is totally a good criticism, because you'll be in the middle of having a conversation with someone and they'll be telling you like their sad life story and be like, "Yeah, but you're cute though." And that's like, that's
kind
how
of digging your space cowboy hat.
Yeah. So that was definitely a thing. I get that. I just thank you for the hydrate. I appreciate it, Shakes. I don't know. It reminds me of, and I've mentioned this to you before. What was the game that Alpha Protocol?
Alpha Protocol.
It's an Alpha Protocol situation.
Yeah, if you had never played Mass Effect, Alpha Protocol is pretty cool.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. Chat, if you don't know what Alpha Protocol is, it is a sci-fi. It feels. Oh, I remember specifically you telling me back in the day, you were like, the main character looks like the guy from Burn After Reading or whatever.
It really does.
I remember that line from you because it fucking killed me. I laughed my ass off.
I mean,
but that's basically what it is. It is a super spy RPG kind of thing, and it was janky as shit. But it wasn't bad. And the only sin it had, outside of like a couple of gameplay stuff, is like it came out after Mass Effect, and Mass Effect showed us how good games could be.
Yeah, Mass Effect set the bar too high.
Yeah, and really the problem. And there's a lot of games like I will play a game and be like, "Man, this game sucks." And I'll sit there and be like, "Wait a minute, does this game actually suck? Or is it bad because I've played whatever game?" And there's a lot of games out there that like just don't quite live up to the standards of some other stuff. And I think it honestly ruins expectations that gamers have, even on a subconscious level. Like they don't even sit there and they don't even think about it when they're making judgment calls, right?
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, I think. So I don't know. It's the age old problem of every time we iterate on something, it has to be bigger and better, right? And
Yeah, instead of just refining the core concepts.
Yep, and
you know,
kind of like to come back to us in our first discussion we had. We get to back to the point of now games cost $1.5 billion to make because it needs to be bigger and better, and the gaming landscape cannot continue the way it is, and we're hitting the point, like we said earlier, where people are like, let's charge $100 a game, let's make these live service games, let's do this, let's do that, let's nickel and dime everybody, because we got to find a way to make all this stuff up, because we are just shitting ourselves in the bed trying to come up with like these bigger, better things, when all people, I think, really want, outside of like your console warriors, which fuck them, honestly, they just want a fun game. Shake said, then Balatro comes and pisses all over the AAA games. Exactly, right? Like, all it takes every now and then is for a game like Balatro to come out and just absolutely just shit all over what these people thought expectations and requirements were. You know?
Balatro is the perfect example of fun being the most important thing about gaming.
Yep. 100%.
If a game's fun, people will play it.
Yeah.
Period.
And I think that's cool as shit.
Yeah.
And that goes back to us talking to, you mentioned like, will people play Ninja Gaiden 4 if it doesn't look great? Yeah. If it's fun.
I think they will. Absolutely. If it's fun.
Yeah. Like, is it going to be the most graphically intense, like push envelope defining thing? No. Will Platinum Games make like a fantastic combo thing and combat and team up with fucking Team Ninja, who reportedly does some of the best combat in the action game genre? I fucking hope so, because that's all it really needs to happen. Like, that's just, I'm so excited for it. Cautiously excited for it, but yeah.
I mean, I won't play it because I'm not good at those kind of games, but I cannot wait to watch people cry on stream as they try to chase like the platinum trophy or whatever on it.
Yeah.
On the hardest difficulty. That's I just love that. So
yeah, it's going to be great.
But that's really all I had for the week. I don't know. Do you have anything else, or?
I don't have anything else. I think that's a good spot for us to call this one.
I think we can call it.
And
thank you so much. This has been great and fun.
Yeah, so, no, absolutely.
Thanks for sharing your stream with me.
Yeah, man. Again, like I said, people in chat, if you like this, if you want this to continue, if you want to be around for discussion, I love the idea of having these conversations and having chatters involved and doing like a whole thing with it. I love the idea of like just having a community around this stuff, and we can, like I was saying earlier, have the conversations, lay out what is going on with gaming, and see how just the general people feel. I think it's really cool. We're probably going to keep doing it on Sunday, but we don't really have a time set up yet. Like I don't think we really know what we're going to do there. It's really all up in the air as we try to figure out like how we're going to continue forward. But I like this format. I like what we're doing here. Todd, I love having you on with me. It's great.
Thank you very much.
To chat.
It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun for sure.
And so again, feel free to comment in the Discord, or just throughout streams. Let me know if you guys like it. When the video goes up, I will post a link in Discord. I don't know when that's going to be. We'll figure it out. But yeah, I'm really glad you guys were here. Thank you all for hanging out with us today. I really appreciate it. I love each and every one of you. Thank you, Todd, for hanging out with me on stream and having the conversation. And we'll be back within like the next 3 Sundays or so. We'll figure it out. But as the date gets closer, I will let people know on stream, what we're going to do. Again, nothing is really set in stone as far as time and stuff goes. If you have specific days or times you would rather see this kind of thing, let me know. I'll try to gauge more interest in the Discord as well. So,
because we'd really like to have the chat involved.
Absolutely.
I would love to do a section at the end where we just take questions, bounce random stuff off each other. I think it would be really good.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, the more we get you guys involved and stuff, I think that's going to be fun. So, yeah, thanks, everyone. I will chat at you later. Bye.